Welcome to the Rural Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Larson. Today we're with Brandi Lahey of Cimarron Prairie Farms and the Tipsy Farmer in Moscow, Kansas. Brandi is sharing about the journey that's taken her from being a nurse to a farmer's wife and mom to now growing hops. This has been quite an adventure, from learning about hops and how to grow them, to cold calling breweries, to finding ways to diversify the uses for her crop. Plus, how she decided to turn the family camper into a mobile craft beer and cocktail bar. She talks about the importance of mentorship and how that helped her get going, plus community over competition, and the big new projects she's working on. So here we go with Brandi Lahey. So we're here in Moscow, Kansas with Brandi Lahey of Cimarron Prairie Farms and the Tipsy Farmer.
Yes.
Brandi, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, tell us about you. Are you a Kansas native?
I am. I grew up in a town about 50 miles southwest of Moscow. So I graduated high school there, then went off to college. And like every good Kansas girl does, I went to K-State, but I didn't graduate from there. So I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. And at the time, K-State didn't have a nursing program. So I transferred to Washburn University in Topeka.
Okay.
And I didn't care for that place so much. So I decided I was going to work as a nurse aide and make sure that nursing was really what I wanted to do. So I moved back home and I became a nurse aide, and then I went to Southwestern Oklahoma State in Weatherford and got my bachelor's degree in nursing from there. And then because the hospital that I was working as a nurse aide for at the time helped pay for my college, I went back there and worked as a nurse, and then ended up in Moscow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how did you and your husband meet?
A co-worker of mine, she was a nurse at the health department in Hugoton, which is in Stevens County, and I worked at the health department in Morton County. We used to go to meetings together, and so we became friends. And she happened to be my now husband's cousin. So she set us up on a blind date, and just the rest is history, I guess.
That's great. So you started growing hops. When did this start?
So I worked as a nurse until about 2009, and my third child was born, and it was going to cost more money for me to drive. And by this time, I'm working at a different health department in a different county now. That's closer to Moscow. But for me to go from a daycare from Moscow, the daycare was going to be back in Hugoton, and then drive to work in Sublette, and the mileage and the cost of daycare was going to be more than what I was making as a nurse. So I decided to stay home. So then I became the kind of the gopher for farm parts, and got kind of coerced into doing harvest dinners. And that was kind of my gig for several years until about 2017, I guess. And my dad and my brother, who lives in Alaska, my brother was home visiting, and my husband were all sitting around drinking beer. You know, I don't know if we'd went to a brewery somewhere or if I don't know what was going on for sure. But anyway, after several beers and talk of, oh, you have all this farm or this just land out here next to your house, you should put up a hop yard. And so that kind of just started the talk. And then we had a friend that was a brewer, and yeah, if you put that in, we'll buy some hops from you, and so that's kind of how it got started. And we just put in 300 plants that first year just to see if they would even grow. And my husband is a row crop farmer, so he has no time at all to help.
Right, yeah.
Like none. He gets to spend his Sundays helping me do stuff in the hop yard. And then my dad is recently retired, so he's my right hand man. Like he helps me in the hop yard I can't pay him yet, but
Yeah.
poor guy, he gets all the free beer he wants. And then my brother, of course, lives in Alaska, so he did come the first year and help us put out the drip hose. So we did find out after the first year that the plants would grow in Kansas. It's not like ideal because of the wind, but we've made it work, and we expanded them the next year to a full acre. So,
Wow.
so we have a full acre.
Awesome. So how did you learn?
I went to a lot of conferences.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say a lot. I think I went to 3, and like one in Nebraska, or a couple in Nebraska, I think, a couple different ones. And then I went to a couple of other hop yards around, well, I say around me, they're the closest to me. One
Yeah.
in Nebraska, and then one in Ottawa. The guys at the Kansas Hop Company have several acres there, and so they were kind enough to let us come and watch while they did harvest, and then answer all my questions. And I still send them, messages, and I'm like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing still. Can you help me out? And they're super nice to do that. So I just kind of by trial and error, and still even now I don't know what I'm doing. Really, I hired an agronomist, so I have him help me tell me what my plants need, and I sometimes can tell him that no, I don't think that's gonna work, but between the two of us, we can get the plants to grow anyway.
That's
so,
amazing. Were
yeah.
you like surprised when it worked?
I was.
Okay.
So at the time, I guess I should back up and say I did have one hop plant outside my chicken coop when my dad and my brother and my husband had this conversation about growing hops, and I think that's probably what started it. Is we had been talking about that hop plant, and oh man, we should grow some of this. Yeah, well they grow, and well the one did really really well, but then when you get into varieties and all the things, then we had to test it and make sure the varieties that we had will grow. And so I don't feel like I have like super fun sought out varieties, that brewers want, but it's what I can grow here. And it works for us. So,
And that's pretty special.
yeah.
Yeah.
When the wind doesn't ruin them, or, we had one year we had a hailstorm that came in Mother's Day weekend, and once the tip of the vine gets broken off, then they don't grow vertically anymore. And so like growth stopped at about 4.5, 5 feet, and they should get about 18 to 20 feet tall.
Wow.
So we only got to harvest 5 feet of hops off of each plant instead of, triple that amount. But anyway, it is what it is.
It's the life of a farmer,
It is,
right?
Yeah.
So when did you start working with some of the local breweries?
Well, that's kind of the fun, interesting part of the story. So that first year I had those 300 plants, right? And the guy that was the brewer that we knew that was gonna take our hops, all you can grow. I'll take all your hops. Well, and I called him to tell him that we had harvested, and this is what I have, which was not very much at all. He's like, well, I can't do anything with that. I need 100 pounds, like he needed way, way more hops than I had available. What I have learned now is that he could have taken those and just dumped them into a brew. Nobody would have known that they were a different variety or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I think he just didn't want to. So anyway, I started cold calling brewers near me. I get out my phone and I'm searching breweries near, within 100 miles of me, and one popped up, and it was Dodge City Brewing. And so I just cold called the brewer, and I'm like, hi, you don't know me, but I grow hops and I have some for sale. Would you be interested? He was a super nice guy, and just on blind faith is like, oh sure, yeah, bring them by and I'll check them out. And do you have he wanted to know all the lab results, the alpha acids. And I was like, yeah, I do have that. And obviously they weren't what they were supposed to be. They were first-year plants, so they were lacking a little, but he was kind enough to take them and brewed with them, and then so we became partners, and as far as, farmer brewer relationship goes, and he's let us come and help brew a beer at his brewery. So that was so much fun getting to learn to do that. And then the next year I had a few more. And so there was a new brewery in Garden City, which is a little bit closer than Dodge City, but still about an hour away. And I went in there and talked to the brewers there, and they did the same. They bought some hops and then let us come brew. And now those guys have since branched off and opened their own brewery. And so they're still my customers. And then this past year I took some to a guy in Bartlesville. Just he had some family that lives near here, and so I took a sample down to him. So anyway, it's just kind of by word of mouth, really. Besides Larry, the first guy. So,
but what I love about that story too is like, make that phone call, even though you're like, well, I don't know what they'll say.
Oh my gosh.
The worst they can say is no.
Right.
But what if they say yes?
Right.
Yeah.
And he was the first person I called. I was so scared to call. Like, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. It was my first year growing hops. Like I wasn't even prepared for what questions he might ask me as a brewer. Like about the hops. And anyway, it all worked out. But yeah, it was a super new thing for me to have to do.
Yeah. So are you increasing the amount you grow every year?
No, I need to be profitable. But I can't. It's such hard work, and I would have the infrastructure to put up a new trellis system. I really probably need about 3 acres to be profitable. I have 1. So, and it's really hard to find good help, like labor intensive. Like the job is very, labor intensive. And so my kids have all had to help, and none of them like it. It sucks. But it's just, and it's so seasonal. Like, it's from March to August. So it's not like a full-time gig for people, so it's kind of hard to find help. So it's just me and my dad and my husband. And we have run out of all friends, family. Like the first couple of years, we would invite all of our friends and family over to help us harvest because we had to hand pick everything. And we couldn't pay them, but we would feed them supper and lunch and give them all the free beer they wanted. And the third year we had they're like, no thanks. When you're done, holler at us and we'll come have a beer with you, but nobody wants to come and do it. It really is. It is hard work. I enjoy it, but it's super hard work. So
it's so interesting because I don't know any hops farmers, so this is a learning for me too. What are some of the local craft beers that the world needs to know about?
Well, I would just encourage anybody just to even get out and try a craft beer. If you're local to Southwest Kansas, I find that not as many people like craft beer as I do, I found that out with the Tipsy Farmer that people just, there are, you have your handful of people that just love it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like people give it a chance, They're like, ooh, maybe they go somewhere and they taste a beer, and maybe because it has, maybe it's a little more bitter than they think it should be, because it doesn't taste like your domestic beer. They just kind of write it off and they don't ever try. There's just so many different types of craft beers, you have your super light, clear to your super darks and your sours and your just so many to try that there's bound to be one that you will like if you just give it a chance and just do the flights when you go to the breweries. Just sample all the beers that they have there. You're eventually surely going to find one that you like.
And it's a fun experience.
It is. Yeah. Especially if you can see all the brew tanks and you can visit with the brewers and, ask them about brewing beer. Like it's a really cool profession. And I feel like it's an art,
Like absolutely.
It's hard to make a good beer. I bought my husband a beer kit one year for Christmas. Like
You found out how hard it was?
It was that first year that we had hops, and I was like, oh yeah, we should try this. We should try to brew some beer. And so I bought him one of those kits. Yeah, no, we'll just keep going to the brewery.
Just grow the hops.
Yeah, you just keep being a cotton farmer, honey. Sorry, you just don't have it in you to be a brewer.
Yeah. So from what I understand, you're also supplying hops for some other makers in the area outside of the beer world?
I do, yep. So because hops is not super profitable for me because I only have 1 acre, I had to find a way to try to make some more money off of them. Mm-hmm. So I send some off to a guy that makes tea for me, Dan. He's on Instagram, the hop leaf tea. And so he puts together all different kinds of varieties of tea, like loose leaf tea, that you steep and drink. And so I have just tons of flavors of loose leaf tea, and they all have my hops in them.
Very cool.
So they really can't, people are like, I've had several people say, am I going to get drunk drinking? I'm like, no, there's no alcohol in them. It's just tea. It just has a little, I feel like in some of them you can taste a little bitterness at the end, but for the most part, if I didn't tell you there was hops in them, I don't know that you would even be able to tell,
Wow.
They just taste so good.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then a lady in Idaho makes, she's calloused Hands Bounty, and she makes soaps for me. So like artisan handcrafted soaps, and she takes my hops. I send her some hops in the mail after harvest every year, and she crushes them up and puts them in while she's making the soap. I think she makes it out of her beef tallow, and it just kind of you get one of those like exfoliating bars, what I mean? It's kind of what it is like. So, but she makes them smell so good.
Wow.
They're really nice. So the first year or second year, maybe, when I took my taxes into the CPA, he says, well, you're not really making any money. I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of that. Then the next year, it was the same thing. He's like, well, you're still not making any money. And I'm like, yes, I know. Thanks. And the third year, he's like, are you going to do something with this business? Like, is this just for fun? And I'm like, no, it's not for fun. It's a lot of hard work, but I can't expand. Like, it's too much to add another acre or what. I don't have the help. I don't have the trellising system. Like, so that's when I decided to come up with some products that I could put hops in. And so I went with the soaps and the teas. And I tried a couple of different soap people, actually, and finally Mel, she does the best job. And so I went with her, and then Dan for the hop tea. So
I love it.
That's how those came about. Just because the tax guy's telling me you're gonna have to make some money or dissolve this business, and it has been too much hard work to just dissolve the hop yard. Like what I do with 100 poles in my yard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Telephone poles, like they're super tall poles, so they're not pretty unless there's something growing on them.
So have you found other ways too that you've been able to make hops profitable for you?
Well, I don't know that it's the hop specifically, but I sell the beer that has my hops in it out of my little camper bar. I wanted to have a hop shed on my farm, and I had started, getting bids and going through the whole process of putting up a shed at the hop yard. And right about the time that I was getting ready to do it, COVID hit, and so the bank was kind of like, well, maybe we should hold off on this, and see what's going to happen. And so then I was on a girls' trip one weekend with a friend of mine, and we were talking about that. And she's like, you really should just buy a horse trailer and turn it into a bar. And I was like, that's a really good idea. And so I started looking for horse trailers, and gosh, they were so expensive. I mean, we have a cattle trailer, but I couldn't have turned it into a bar. And I just couldn't find one that wasn't going to cost a whole bunch of money to fix up. Mm-hmm. And I was laying in bed one night, and I just, like a light bulb went off. You get one of those 3 a.m. like, aha moments. And I have a camper that we had literally, it was just a couple years old, but because my husband is a row crop farmer, we never get to go on vacation in the summer. It's either hurry and go before planting starts, or you have to wait to that time period before school starts and before corn harvest starts. And then always the irrigation motor, all the sprinklers are going and you can't leave for more than 2 days.
Yes.
So I thought we never used that camper anyway. So my dad is super, also instead of just being my hired guy, he's super handy at construction work. And so he helped me gut it, and we took all the beds out and put in a serving window and a serving counter, and made storage for all the alcohol and the cups and the, all of the supplies. And so we turned it into just a little mobile bar. And so I sell the craft beer that has my hops in it at different events. And I just started last May. So the biggest events I had last year were fairs. And maybe that's why not as many people drink craft beer at my events, was because it was just not the right crowd.
Yeah.
I guess, just a different crowd. And so I started bringing domestic beer to those events as well. So I have the option of domestic beer in cans, or you can have a craft beer on draft. And then I started making cocktails and just have drinks, that you can mix, and just a little variety for people that maybe don't like beer.
Yeah.
So.
I hear you make a mean margarita.
I do. It took me a really long time to get that recipe. Like, I was all over Pinterest for probably 4 months, and every weekend I would make a new recipe, and I would invite my parents over and some of my husband's cousins and some friends, and I would make a batch, and I'm like, okay, you have to, I'd make 2 batches, 2 different recipes, and tell me which one is better. Which one do you like better? And then the winner of that weekend would get carried over to the next weekend, and I'd find another recipe. And so they were my taste tester, my quality assurance panel.
Yeah, that's great.
So anyway, I finally found one that everybody agreed upon was the best that I had tried out of, the 10 or 12 recipes that I made. So
yeah. So it's called the Tipsy Farmer.
Yes.
Great name.
Thanks.
Yeah. And do you have more events? Are you booked out for this year?
I am starting about the middle of April. I am booked every weekend until October.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a hit.
It is. Yeah. And it's like just a total variety of events too, like I have several weddings, and I have fairs and rodeos and private birthday parties, and so just a wide range of events. It's not just the same stuff, but yeah, super busy on all Saturdays. There's a couple of Fridays that are booked as well, but pretty free during the week and on Fridays, but which makes it kind of nice. So then I can do hop yard stuff and go to my kids' stuff if I need to, but and then have a few events at my own farm. So so I plan to do that as well.
So fun. And so you're in Southwest Kansas. How far are you willing to travel?
Well, I could travel throughout the whole state of Kansas.
Okay.
But I found that most people don't want to pay the mileage for me to come to them. So I offer the first 30 miles are free. And then after that, to bring the camper, my rates were set at $3 a mile. Now that gas and diesel,
it's not going to cut it.
I know. I might have to revisit those fees. But so far, that's what I charge. But if I just bring my little standalone bar and not the camper, then it's $1.50 a mile, just because I have to pull a trailer behind to haul that with all the alcohol. But it's not as heavy or hard to haul as the big camper,
Yeah, that's so fun.
Probably my farthest event so far is Great Bend, which I don't know, that's close to 300 miles from maybe 270. I don't know, 270 70, 80 miles from Moscow anyway.
That's a pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Yep.
So this has been a pretty wild ride for you.
Yeah.
Fair to say.
Yes. Very fair.
What have been some of the biggest things you've learned, either as a business owner or personally or both?
Well, I felt very inept at business because I didn't have any previous experience, you know? So like a lot of self-teaching. I've had to take a lot of classes and teach myself a lot of things that I didn't know with a nursing degree.
Sure, yeah.
or as a mom or as a harvest dinner, provider. So that, now I have to say that part has come in handy as far as like to serve large groups of people. Like that's been great prep.
Yeah.
Serving the harvest crew. That's really has been handy. But as far as business, how to set up a business and all the steps and all the inputs and you know what I mean? That's been a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And then you got the whole marketing thing that I still kind of suck at, like it's just maybe because of my age, I feel like it's really hard to market online because my brain is not used to you know what I mean? I used to just use Facebook to just post pictures of my kids so the rest of my family could see it.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm trying to come up with a post every day just to target my audience just so that I can increase my business sale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a whole different world and I'm not used to that yet. And I still am kind of not fond of getting in front of the camera to sell myself. It's something I have to do better at and just something you have to learn, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely not alone in that. I think all the listeners are nodding their heads like, yep, I get that.
Yeah, it's super hard.
What's been the most rewarding thing?
Probably all of the support from just mostly my family, but lots of people in the community that have been so supportive and so helpful and so willing to, either come to an event on my farm or come to another event that I'm at and support me or, buy my t-shirts or buy my soaps and my teas or, just different ways they support or just by telling their friends that, oh, you should call Brandi and have her come for your bridal shower or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just fun stuff like that. Just word of mouth stuff it's really nice, all the support. So
yeah. And you get to be a fun part of special moments in people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You mentioned that when you started out growing hops, that someone was willing to take you under their wing and help you and teach you. And what has the importance of mentorship been in all of this?
It is very important. And that's why I feel like community over competition is so huge. Like there's room at the table for everybody.
Yep.
It shouldn't be like, well, you're selling the same thing as me or those guys were so nice to have me to their farm and they were probably thinking, what is this girl doing here?
Yeah.
But they didn't, I don't feel like they've ever one time looked at me like, oh, she's taking our competition. And we sell to the same brewers. So the guys that buy hops from me also buy hops from them. But they grow different hops than I do. You know what I mean? So it's not a competition to me. Like I'm not in a competition with them. And vice versa. I mean, they would win hands down. But it's just so important that I feel like people should realize that there can be multiple hop growers in the same county or the same state, or there could be multiple mobile bar owners, like I have every weekend booked. There could be another mobile bar with, in the same town as me, and they would still have places to go and have gigs to do. You know what I mean? Like it's shouldn't be a competition. Life is not a competition,
And I think it makes us all try to be our best.
Yeah.
Because we want to help each other, but we also want to do the best that we can do.
Right. Well, you have to up your game. If somebody else is doing the same thing as you have to provide a better service or do a better job or a better product or you're not going to have the sales. You know what I mean?
Yep.
People aren't going to utilize you in the same way. So I think it makes us better. And then I also feel like if we are going to talk about competition, like it makes you be more competitive with your prices, more fair, I guess, not competition wise, but you just have to be more fair in what you're offering, and instead of just monopolizing on what people will pay and taking advantage of that,
Well, and with the Tipsy Farmer, you saw an opportunity that was not being met here. And you're like, I can bring something different that nobody else is doing.
Yes.
And that's obviously been a hit. So
well, that and I don't I don't feel like I take away from the breweries. I'm selling their beer.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like it has my hops in it and I'm promoting my hops, but at the same time I'm promoting their beer. So maybe you're at a little private event and you get to sample or try the beer from a brewery you haven't been to yet and you really like it. Well, then maybe you're more apt to go to that brewery and try their other beers and support the brewery. And, so I don't feel like those guys think of me as competition. We're just, we're friends, and I'm trying to get their beer on my truck so that people can go to their brewery at a later date and time. And
you're reaching a new audience that they might not be able to reach otherwise.
I think so.
Yeah. Kind of that whole concept too of like rising tides lift all ships.
Right.
Know?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
What do you love most about your small town?
You get that, well, I don't like everybody knowing my business, and I don't feel like since I live in the country, I don't feel like everybody knows my business, but it's nice to know everybody in a sense that they spread the word about you, like they spread the word about your business, and they're happy to promote what you do, or you know what I mean, help get the word out. So
absolutely. What excites you most about the future of rural America?
I hope that I just have so many things that I want to do on my little farm to help bring community together. But I hope that people realize that rural America is about community. You know what I mean? It's about helping each other out and supporting each other, and knowing that if you have something to do, that there's somebody that's going to help you with your kids, or help you last minute. Oh, I need somebody to come help me at an event, and oh, sure, I'll stand in. Or, it's just friends and neighbors helping each other, and you don't get that in the big city.
Yep.
You just don't. I go to visit my daughters, and one lives in Wichita, one lives in Denver, and like they know their neighbors, but they just know them by their first name and say hi as they're going up the stairs. You don't know their neighbor like I know my neighbor. She comes over and sits on my back porch, and we have a glass of wine, and she lives a ways down the road. You know what I mean? So it's just different. Yeah,
it is. What's next for you? Any big plans?
I do have a big project I'm working on. So my high tunnel got destroyed in December. We had 80, 90 mile an hour winds here, December 15th.
Yes.
And so my high tunnel was just demolished. And this past weekend, I got it all torn down. So there is nothing. I just have this big vacant area. But I am in the process of building a different kind of a greenhouse. It's going to be, hopefully, this is my plan. I haven't actually started digging yet, but it's going to be in the ground. So it'll be, I think they call them walapinis, but it's going to be an underground greenhouse. And I'm going to try to make it big enough to where I can have events there. So it'll maybe be a fun place in the winter. It'll be warmer, than a high tunnel. You have to heat that, but I can put those little radiant heaters, inside, and hopefully have, girls' night out and galentines and paint parties and just different fun things, like just a little event center on the farm, to where the Tipsy Farmer can host events and have birthday parties and stuff. Because in the spring and summer, I do sell just nursery plants that I sold out of the high tunnel, and so I'm going to do that again this spring and summer. But then once those are gone, then it'll just be an open area for just fun stuff.
Absolutely.
So
you're super innovative.
I really want it. My biggest goal this summer is to have kind of like a ground to glass, I don't want to say a dinner, like a farm to table dinner or something, but maybe hors d'oeuvres, and where people can come and try craft beer and be in the hop yard and see what hops look like, and just have a night where it's just a little community event where you can come and you'd be surprised how many people that live in my community have never seen a hop plant. They don't know what they look like. They've never been to my farm. So, or maybe they've been there, but not while the hops are growing. So just to see the hops when they're, mid-season and they're 15 feet tall it's amazing. So
I love it.
it's really cool.
Okay, well, how can people follow along and keep up with what you have going on?
Well, Facebook, I am the Tipsy Farmer, and then also Cimarron Prairie Farms on Facebook. I have 2 accounts, which is really hard to keep up with. I don't do a very good job at either one of those on Facebook because I spend most of my time on Instagram. And so on Instagram, it's the.tipsy.farmer. And so I try to share what I share on there to the Facebook Tipsy Farmer, but the algorithms, you can't post the reels. You can't, it's just
go to Instagram.
Right. Yeah. Just come to Instagram. Just come there. And then I have a website. It's thetipsyfarmerbar.com. You can go there and book events or buy my hop teas or my hop soaps, t-shirts, have some little shot glasses coming and some koozies and just different fun stuff that I'll probably have all of that in the camper bar when I go to the fairs and, all the big summertime festival events. So
perfect.
Yeah. And watch those places for events, listings, where I'm going to be. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Brandi, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Well, I love Brandi's perseverance and how she is constantly innovating. It's so fun. And this next project sounds amazing. I so appreciate all the hard work she has put into these businesses, and I love the success she is having with both her hops and the Tipsy Farmer. In case you haven't heard, our first brand camp was such a success, we decided to bring it back again, and we're hosting our next workshop on May 8th through 11th in Leapers Fork, Tennessee, where you'll leave with a brand new website that you'll know how to edit all on your own, plus email marketing, organic social media, and a whole new set of marketing tools. Get all the details at brandcampworkshop.com and come join us at Brand Camp. Huge thanks to Brandi for being on the podcast, and thanks to you for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.